Mr. X here with the Extreme Channel, and we've got some things going on today for some extreme collectibles. So before we do that, I want to share with you some hashtag real world problems that I have. So hashtag real world problems. About 10 to 15 days ago, I got a notice that 5 custom statues are shipping. So as usual, you're both ecstatic and dreading it. You're dreading it because not only do you pay off the balances, but you have to pay the shipping. And shipping on custom pieces at the cheapest is $250 to $300, if not double that. But ponied up, paid all the money, good to go. A few days went by, nothing shipped, no big deal. And then I had a trip. So took a trip, a 5-day trip, and I figured when I get back, maybe I'll have some to open. And this is equally important because I was only going to be home for about 6 hours before I take off on another trip. And that's where we're at now. Thankfully, I did catch an earlier flight, so I'm home for about 18 hours. But I was going to open, all these custom pieces, do power reviews, post them over the next few days. And only one of the 5 shipped. And I'm not saying arrived, shipped. The rest still haven't shipped. So just frustrating when you pay that much money, and they're probably going to arrive while I'm gone for the next week, which is unfortunate. But if you're a collector, you know what I mean. Hashtag real world problems. Now we're going to do an unboxing. I traditionally do that on a Facebook channel, but we're going to do it on here. And I put pants on for you guys because I just stopped by the office for a few hours. Mainly to pick this guy up, not to do any work. Mr. X here with the Extreme Channel. If you didn't watch the intro, we are unboxing a custom piece. You probably know what it is because I'm probably putting it in the title. If not, God help you. So let's get started. And I'm going to fast forward through some of these parts. Now, I personally do not watch unboxings. I don't enjoy it. The only time it is very useful to me is if I'm packing something up for whatever reason, which typically isn't the case. However, I am selling a bunch of sideshow pieces. So I've been taking photos and packing those guys up. So you can fast forward if you want. Ooh, we got a badass art box. Look at that freaking art box. That is badass. I'm not an art box guy at all. I just keep them in the shippers, but that's worth noting. Alright. So first we have layer number 1. Here's a shot of it. And layer number 2, here is a shot of that.
Alright, so let's start going. Heavy some bitch. Puts on an awkward angle. Probably just asking for a back injury. When you start getting old, you cannot bounce back. You guys know what I'm talking about. So I'll show you close-ups of each piece as we do the paint and sculpt on review. Bigger than I thought it'd be, that's what she said. And we got Venom over here, Spider-Man, and the switch outs. broken. That's too bad. Looks like a decently clean, but it looks like it was I'll show a close up. It looks like it was actually broken before it shipped and re-glued, which I think I know what factory this came from. It's not like them, so.
Like a baby. Alright, so we have everything unpacked. We're going to clean this shit up and then put it together, and I know there's some big warnings putting it together, so if I break it, we have it documented. Okay, so let's get some assembly done here. Now there's a couple different switch out features, and we are going to, we'll talk about in the background info, but we're going to go ahead and assemble it without Spider-Man right now. And let's do some testing here. Obviously Venom goes there. See how exciting that was? It's probably a lot more exciting with Spider-Man, as he has 4 different pieces to him. And I gotta figure these out as well. I think one of them just sits on there if I recall correctly. But yeah, so let me gear in, get some pictures, and we'll start reviewing this custom quarter scale Venom Versus Spider-Man Diorama. Alright, so we got him assembled with the Spider-Man on there. I probably should have videotaped that for you guys because it's decently complex, but I don't have enough time because I have to get on a plane to the happiest place on earth very, very soon. So with that being said, this is officially a custom quarter scale Venom vs. Spider-Man diorama, and I am extremely excited to add this to the Extreme Collection for 2 reasons. Reason number 1 is this is this first piece from this custom group, and I have probably 12 to 15 pieces on order from them. I usually never order a piece from a custom group, a second piece, until I have the first one in hand. So needless to say, it is not disappointing, and they've just been killing it on their sculpts and their renders, so I'm excited to get the rest of them. I'm actually getting 2 other Venoms from them, believe it or not. One is a Venom vs. Hulk diorama. Here's a picture. And then the other one is this Venom on wall that you see here. And I'm going to put those opposite Spider-Man Comiquette. The second reason I'm so excited is Venom is my second favorite character. Growing up, Venom comics were the majority of the comics I had. I recently bought Venom Omnibus Volume 1. I have XM Venom behind me, and then at my office I have a giant Venom display. And I'm not sure where I'm going to put him. It's going to depend on his measurements, so we will find that out. The issue is if I take him in my office, I have to unassemble him and take him back, which sucks. But let's do the measurements now to find out. So it's kind of interesting, which we'll talk about in concept, because he's facing the diagonal point. So if I had to say depth from him facing forward, 17 inches-ish. His width with Spider-Man's legs, wow, 18 to 19. And his height, this will tell us, we want under 27 to put him at the office. He is 26 1/4, so we are good there. He's going to the office. Very excited about that. They made 63 of these. They retailed a little high. It was $1,300, and that was a tough pill to swallow when I was able to nab him, but now that I have him in person, and he's 2 statues. Spider-Man is properly scaled. He's the same size as the other quarter scale Spider-Mans behind me. So I think that price is probably pretty decent. It was only 1 box, as you saw, but shipping was a lot, but it is a heavy piece. It was over 400, I want to say. So real excited to have him. We kind of talked about how he went together, but let's jump into the concept and design of that, and this is where we're going to talk about the switch outs. So first of all, he has 3 different portraits. Let's take a look at those. This first one here is almost a Delato type portrait. And it's got the tongue, no green saliva, anything like that. The tongue is connected on this one. The second one, and I believe this is from the art director's mind, is just this nasty, disgusting Venom, longer tongue, green saliva. This is the one that I'm going to display. And the other one is kind of the traditional take on a McFarlane portrait with the smile. It's not really McFarlane, but someone can let me know what it is. Mouth closed. All very, very cool. Like I said, I'm probably going to display the second one I showed, not this one right here. We're going to review all of them. The other switch outs it has is you can put them with Spider-Man. Here's a picture. Which to me, this is 100% the way to go, but they recognize some of the buyers may just want the Venom. So you can replace Spider-Man with some stone pieces that fit in via magnets and keys, where it's almost water dripping from his hands that he's setting on right here, which is a pretty cool effect. So it is cool they offered this. For me as a buyer, not going to be me at all. And one of those pieces actually arrived broken, as you saw in the unboxing. So here it is. But it should be a pretty easy fix, and I'm not really going to display it anyway, so only resale purposes down the road if I ever resell this. So, and again, we're talking about the design. We're going to talk about the concept in a second. So Spider-Man himself, you have to put Spider-Man's arm in first, and then Spider-Man down, and then Venom on top of him, and you have to be very careful of Venom's nails, which we were warned about. I had no issues. I was overly cautious. And then Spider-Man's legs here pop on for shipping purposes. I'm sure they left them off. So design-wise, the only design issues I see, there are 2 of them. One is there is a seam line, which with Venom you will always have with switch-out portraits. And it seems like everybody wants different switch-out portraits. Like, for example, the reason I'm going to do the strange-looking one is I have no other Venom like that. No other Venom on order, or no other Venom in my collection. And I have other Venoms on order. I think I have 4 other ones besides the 2 I showed you and the ones at my office. The other design issue, I noticed when you use the switch out, so you don't display Spider-Man, his back left foot, the peg shows a little bit. Thankfully, when I put Spider-Man in, that was not an issue at all. It sits flush, and since I'm displaying with Spider-Man, I don't really care. Conceptually, let's take a look. So first of all, he is on top of, it almost looks like a worn church or steeple due to the windows here, and it's kind of the same on each side, other than some of his symbiote coming down. And this is very typical of Venom. He's almost always on top of a building or in a sewer. It's one or the other. And then the other thing, you know, he's just killed Spider-Man. Spider-Man definitely looks dead. We're going to see some close-ups of that. His eye is wide open, but I think he's dead because of some of the limpness of his body, or he's about to die. And this is what I call a creature-like Venom. To me, Venom kind of falls into 2 categories. One is creature-like, where he's more of an animal, a monster, and then the other one is more of a humanoid Venom, like XM, few of the other custom ones I have coming in. And also with that too, one of the things you're going to notice, he's very misproportioned when he's the creature-like Venom. For example, his hands are giant. They're bigger than his head. So imagine my hands, my fingers stretching all the way down. He is over-muscular, and he hunches over, and then of course some of the creature-like portraits. That's, in my mind, how I define the creature-like Venom. And he falls definitely, obviously, into that. So he has killed him. He's very animalistic, very wild. Great concept and design on Venom. So with that being said, let's jump right into the paint and sculpt on this piece, and we're going to start at the bottom, and when we get to the top I will review the paint and sculpt of the switch out pieces too. But let's start at the base here. So it kind of has this sub base here where it's not really part of the building, but they try to incorporate it in the building. Oftentimes you see like a plain black or some other part for the actual base to sit on. This is like that, except not only did they follow the same colors, but there's some, you know, broken parts and wear and tear just like there is on the base above it. So I like the ideology of that, the ideology. And then moving up again, like I said, it's kind of this older building, tons of cracks in texture and wear, and it's these browns and tan colors throughout. And there's these almost church cathedral type window spaces. I think it would have been neat if they actually put some broken windows or something like that. That could have added a little bit to it. Chunks of the building are missing or they're falling out. I really like the paint on it. It's very well done. I think one issue, and this is kind of a design issue, it's way too tall. Too tall. So should have been shorter to save some space, but that might have not made the character as cool. So I'm not sure. You also see some of the symbiote coming down on there. And I've never been a fan of symbiote leakage is what I call this. I think it's very hard to get done right. I don't know if you make it glistening, if you make it kind of a matte, flat paint like this is. It's just very hard to do. And almost every Venom statue seems to have a little bit of this. It's not bad at all. It's just, it doesn't impress me like the statue does. Then here, let's start at the top of it. So a lot of the same, a few quick pictures here where the symbiote's leaking out. But let's look at the pieces, specifically the piece that goes under his hands. Again, they used a clear type water resin effect. I don't know if this is water that is supposed to be pouring out of Venom's hands. But again, great texture on the building. I like the fact that these are keyed in via magnets and other aspects just to kind of hide areas. But it looks really good. Good texture, good color. And that water type effect. You almost always see some type of water effect on a Venom. Initially looking at Spider-Man here, he kind of looks like a doll, which at first I didn't like, but if he's dead or dying, that kind of makes sense. Most of the people I kill can kind of go limp like a doll before that. So with him, you see some cuts in his costume and some fresh blood, a few different places. I think they should have gone a little bloodier. So kind of not really a miss there, but now that I'm really over critiquing it, there's no texture on his costume, which is very un-Spidey-like. Obviously, you do have the black webbing over the red boots and the arms. I like how some of the scratches are directly underneath where Venom's nails are. And I love how his mask is kind of shattered here. So you see a little bit of his eye on the inside. Not a lot of detail went into that, and this is what makes it look like a doll. But if he's dead, I think I'm okay with that. But kind of the shattered glass eye, some scrapes right below it. And then looking at Venom's hands, these are these oversized, really huge hands. One thing I like is the nails are completely black, where traditionally you see that with white or no nails at all, or they're part of the symbiote. So great job on that. I like the monster musculature of how big his hands are. You see the bones beneath them. And this is a mostly black Venom, and I was a little worried when I saw the renders. I thought there was a little bit too much blue. I'm not always a huge fan of a lot of blue in a Venom, but it looks good, and you see a few of the veins on his hands. And his feet, he actually doesn't have any nails. So looking at his feet here again, kind of overemphasized. Weird looking, but he's in a very weird position squatting. And if you're staring at Venom's feet, you probably have a weird foot fetish. But moving up his legs here, this is kind of the same that you see all through his body. It is this over-muscular, over-veiny, there's a little bit of blue hint in the veins all over. And he's kind of bulging. And if somebody didn't know what I was talking about, they would think I'm not necessarily talking about a comic book character. But here's some shots all over. His arms, again, very muscular, lots of veins going on all over the place. Kind of has that hunchback on top that Venom traditionally, the creature like Venom does. And then here's his spider symbol on the back. With Venoms, they're either indented or exdented, so where it sticks out, this is exdented. It's very clean. There's not really a lot of blacks or blues in there like there is other pieces, so I like the fact this is differentiated. And the same exact thing for the smaller spider on his chest. So a lot of the same throughout him, but I think that's what's needed in this character. So let's first look at kind of what I said, kind of the Delato portrait. So he has in his eyes here kind of a bluish blackish hinge just around the outsides. but these giant eyes where there's no exact definition. And then on his mouth where he's opening it up, he has, I always call it the gums that are stretching apart that you really see in every classic Venom. And smaller teeth, which is typical of this portrait, but they're jagged and all over the place. And there's some, I think the coloring's perfect. It's this yellow, black, white coloring. Makes him look really scary. I'm not a fan of the tongue. I think the texture on it is good. There's not really any texture. It's more this shiny, glistening effect. I think the shape of it is good. I don't like the bubble gum around it. So his saliva or his muscles or whatever that is, I'm not a fan of that. That's just a personal preference. It's done very well. It's just not something I like. And then the closed mouth portrait here, again, much bigger teeth. And he actually has some red in his eyes where the other portrait was blue, and it's in the same areas, and the eyes are more clearly defined, and you're not finding as many wrinkles on his face above his eyes. However, he has kind of that same gum structure. And this one, the more I look at it, the more I like it, to be honest with you. So the teeth are still, you know, overpopulated, but they're in a more distinct order, and they use the same coloring renders on it, but put a little bit more shine, a little bit more gloss on the teeth. So really well done, and his chin, just like all the other portraits, are overemphasized, which is what you see in a traditional creature like Venom. And then let's go to my favorite portrait. So this one, the eyes are not indented, they're actually extended. They're sticking out, and not only is there this bluish hinge around them and there are these weird shapes, but there are some red veins in the eyes, making it even more scary. And here, you know, Venom traditionally doesn't have a defined nose, but his mouth kind of goes up to where his nose was, and these gums are very different than the other portraits. His teeth are jutting all over the place, kind of, again, different shapes, a lot sharper. And it just looks weird, and I think that's why I like it so much. It's different, and it's scary, crazy Venom. Maybe like when he just killed Spider-Man. He just completed his lifelong quest, so he is really venoming out. Maybe this is what the symbiote would look like without a human host. And I like this tongue a lot better. So not only does it have the gloss, but it has more of a tongue texture, what you'd expect to find on a tongue. And obviously quite a bit longer, and it has the green saliva, very comic accurate, kind of dripping and falling all over. Very, very cool. I think they did a great job with all the portraits. Doesn't have a humanoid portrait or an unmasked portrait or a transformation portrait, which you don't want one with this. This is full out Venom, like I said. This is his heyday. This is what Venom gets off on, killing Spider-Man. So very happy with this piece. I think you're going to be tough to find one. I know it was very difficult to get one. They sold out quickly, and not many people are selling. I've seen a few on online forums, but I love it. And I'm mad I have to take it back to my office, but it's going to look fantastic there. So let me know what your favorite Venom statue is. I still have, I said, about 5 or 6 Venoms coming. I should have one arriving next month, a traditional Lethal Protector Venom, which I'm stoked for. So here's a picture of it, actually. Really appreciate it, guys. Now I need to do some editing and get this uploading so I can go to the airport, and we're going to go pull the kids out of school, surprise them. They don't know we're going, so that's always pretty damn cool. Appreciate it, guys. Take care.